Hi, what's up everybody? Welcome to Fastcuts. In this video, we are going to watch a movie that belongs to the genre of action thrillers called The Silent Scene, a 2020 American-Canadian action thriller film directed by Ruben Pront from a screenplay by Micah Ranum.
The plot of movie revolves around a hunter and a sheriff who are on the hunt for a murderer who may have kidnapped the hunter's daughter years before. It was released through Direct Cinema on July 16, 2020, and in theaters and VOD on August 14, 2020, by Saban Films. Without any further ado, let's get back into the story. A drunken father searches for his daughter, who has been missing for years. He is currently working as a forest area security officer. Meanwhile, a murder is taking place in the area. The dead body was found as if it had been shot in the back with an arrow. The plot of the film is that the heroine, who leads the investigation of the case, enters the hero's story on a special occasion, and then the suspenseful investigation takes place through both. At the end of the film, the director explains the great reason why the film is called The Silencing. The film opens with a dead body floating down a river in the middle of a forest. After the scene splits into two people in the forest. Both are holding guns and aiming at the deer. They both say the deer is mine. Just then, a third person pointed a gun at them from behind. This deer is mine, he told them. It was Raven, the hero of our film. This animal sanctuary is overseen by Raven. Raven's duty is to prevent poachers from illegally entering the forest. One of the hunters asked him, "Isn't it just a forest? What's the problem if you kill a deer? What's the problem? It's not just a forest, it's a nature reserve. It is a protected forest," was his reply. After that, Raven grabbed all the guns from their hands and put them in the trunk of his car. Raven is about to start the car and says, "You can take the gun from me later," but Raven is unable to start the car. Raven tells them to help him start the car, but they give a middle finger salute and leave. After leaving the car there, Raven walked through the forest and went home. It is clear that he lives alone at home. Then the heroine is shown Alice. She is a police officer. Her car is parked right next to the policeman she works for. The policeman's name is Black. "Where did you get him today?" Alice asked Black. "From the factory," he replied. Alice asks about her brother. Brooke is a little weird. He will go somewhere and cause some problems. Brooke is taken from the police station and handed over to Alice, who will be charged by the police. Brooke sits in Black's car with blood all over his face and shirt. Alice took him out of the black car and put him in her car. "Hey, let me tell you something. These are the cases I can withdraw. Control him before he signs anything big." Black warned Alice that if something like that happened, no one would be able to save her. Afterwards, Alice and Brooke get into the car. "Whose blood do you have on your body?" Alice asked him. "It will probably be mine. That crescent moon and I had a fight over a girl," he said. "Speaking of girls, which girl?" Alice asked him. Brooke replied, "Don't you know his character? She's a girl, a bastard, a druggie." Suddenly, "Don't go this way, turn around." "Let's go the other way," said Brooke, starting to get angry. After a while on that road, Alice also remembered. The factory Black mentioned earlier is on this road. When he sees it, he gets nervous again. "He told me to go the other way so as not to come close." After dropping him off at his place and returning, Alice receives a report of a murder nearby. She is on her way to the crime scene. Raven was at home printing out a lookout notice for his missing daughter. That's when some school children and teachers came there to visit the sanctuary. Raven is now taking them in and taking a class on wildlife sanctuaries for the children. During the lecture, a little boy asked Raven, "My father said that you kill animals and trap them more than anyone else." Raven said that was a long time ago. "It's been a long time since that stopped. My daughter didn't like it at all. Now, set traps to catch those who trespass and cause trouble for the wildlife and show them a trap." The next scene shows Alice and a cop. At the beginning of the movie, they found a body that floated down the river in the valley. The policeman who was with her told her that the body would look at least a week old. Suddenly, she saw a mark on the dead body's neck. After that, they start searching inside the forest. There are blood splatter marks all over the ground. When she walked a little further, she saw another thing. An arrow-like weapon was impaled on a tree. They are convinced that they have been killed by poachers. In the next scene, Raven takes his daughter's missing notice and enters the car. After that, notices were posted everywhere in the town. When he returned home after that, Raven saw two people were waiting for him. It was a woman in black, the policeman shown earlier with Alice. The woman was Raven's ex-wife. Now she is married to Mr. Black. They then enter the house. His wife wants to have their daughter Gwen's funeral as soon as possible. She says, "How can I do it without you? Are you her father? The funeral can be done only if you agree." Raven is still putting up all the notices, hoping to get Gwen back. He is asked to come and perform the burial ceremony for the child. When Raven heard that, he got out of control and started yelling something, getting angry and drinking the liquor that was nearby. His wife asked him angrily, "Oh, despite all that has happened, you have not been able to stop drinking." Then his wife hands him a paper. "You will get the death certificate only if you sign it." When he heard that, he took the paper and threw it away. Immediately, she leaves the place angrily saying, "Whether you are there or not, the ceremony will be done within 2 weeks." Then Alice is shown. Another policeman brought the part of the arrow stuck in the tree to her. She is holding it and examining it. It was no ordinary arrow. It was made of some other special metal. In the next scene, Raven, who was lying down drunk, suddenly wakes up from his slumber. That's when he saw the news on TV that the dead body had been found. He immediately takes the car and leaves the house. Meanwhile, Alice is talking to her brother. She asks him, "Tell me what happened in that factory." But he doesn't say anything. "My mistake was leaving you here when your father and mother died." She told him that he should have taken me with him. Brooke asked her sister, "Will you save me when I jump into something bigger?" Then there is a knock on the door. Alice opened the door, and it was Raven. "I want to see that dead body. To see if it is my daughter," he said to Alice. Then they are standing next to the dead body. Raven says that he saw the dead body and it was not his daughter. Then he came out of there. Alice is talking to the doctor who comes from the morgue. Alice asked the doctor, "Do you know anything about Raven? Do you have children?" was the doctor's reply. When Alice replied, "No," the doctor told her, "But you can't even imagine what he's been through." In the next scene, Raven is shown drinking at a bar. That's when Alice came there. Alice asked him, "May I come with you?" Later, she also started drinking with him. "I know everything about your daughter. I have a chance too. Let's see if we can find it," said Alice to him. Raven asked Alice, "If a person goes missing 48 hours later and there is no information, there is a 0% chance of being found. She has been missing for 5 years. Raven asked, "What chance would I give you?" and walked outside from there. Alice called from behind as Raven was leaving, "You can call me for whatever you need." "I don't have any phones," was his reply. The next scene shows Raven sitting at home. His dog is looking at the CCTV screen and barking loudly. When he comes and looks, he sees someone trespassing inside the forest. A strangely dressed man with all his weapons in hand. Raven could see him coming and smashing a CCTV camera as well. Immediately, he took his gun and went straight into the forest. He is now standing where the camera is broken. "I know you are here somewhere. This is a sanctuary. You can't hunt here." Raven looked around and said. Just then, an arrow shot towards him and grazed him, then impaled him on a tree. He looked in the direction of the arrow and started firing. While he was hiding behind a tree, an arrow hit him in the chest. He also fell down with the arrow. Somehow, got up and went to the car to escape from there. When started, it does not start. He immediately got out of the car and started walking. That's when he saw a truck standing in the middle of the forest. He realized that it was most likely the hunter's truck, so he made a small mark on the truck with a key in his hand and walked straight home. He went home and cleaned the wound from the arrow and stitched it himself. After coming back and looking at the camera, he realized something else. That hunter does not hunt animals. He takes an arrow and runs back to kill a girl. Seeing that and taking everything he needed to fight the killer to save her, Reuben went back into the forest. He went to the forest and searched everywhere to somehow find the killer. Meanwhile, an arrow came towards him again from somewhere. It passed him and crashed straight into the tree. Reuben couldn't really see the killer because he was wearing a dress made of grass. But Reuben had a paint pot in his hand. He lifted it up and fired at it. The paint splattered all over the killer's body and clothes. Now let's catch the killer quickly with the color of that paint. Then Ray took the gun and ran after the killer. But by that time, the killer had run and hid somewhere. Then Alice is shown. She has gone to meet a friend of hers. There is another purpose behind going to see it. She had to know about the metal in that arrow. She asked her friend about it. He examined it and started talking about the metal in it. This metal is called atlantal. It is a metal used by ancient humans for hunting. Its use dates back to about 3,000 years ago, when it is said to be ancient. Today, its sale and use are illegal. He shows her a demo of an arrow made of the metal. It was more accurate and faster than the normal arrow. Alice asked him if he knew anyone who would sell it. Moonblood has it for sale. Not only that, he also uses it for hunting, he told her. Her younger brother, Brooke, was injured earlier in a fight with this Moonblood. At the same time, Rabin was tired of running after the killer. He went straight to the river and started drinking water. That's when he saw a girl lying on the bank of the river. He went to her. It was the girl who chased by the killer earlier. Somehow, she escaped from his hand and fell unconscious. It was then that he noticed a mark on her neck. We noticed that there was a similar mark on the neck of the previous dead body found in the river. Then Rabin took the child and started walking from there. He was very emaciated and had difficulty walking. In the next scene, Alice has gone somewhere in search of Moonblood. It was an area crowded with many criminals. She was wearing a police uniform. A man who sees her coming and seems to be its leader asks her if he has come as a policeman or to look after his brother. I came to see Moonblood. When Alice asks where he is, a girl standing nearby replies that he must have gone hunting. Immediately, the leader gets angry, telling her to shut up. Where is Moonblood? Alice asks again, does he use Atlanta? The leader told her that the power of her uniform and badge was of no use here. Alice realized that there was no point in staying there anymore and turned away. When she was standing to get the car, the girl she had seen earlier came to her. The girl then tells Alice the location of Moonblood. At the same time, Rabin is walking through the forest, taking the girl too. It's pretty dark. And he is very tired. Immediately, he laid the child down and began to tap something on the ground. There was a door down. A pit like one used to catch animals in the forest. When he opened the door and came back, the child was not found in the place where she had been laid. She suddenly comes back and starts harassing Rabin. Hey. I have come to save you. I am not the one who came to kill you, said Rabin. It's very cold. If you stay here, you will freeze to death. Rabin said that, if you have faith, you can enter. Then she went down into that hole. Rabin handed her one of his bags from above. She couldn't catch it, and it fell down, and she heard a sound like breaking glass. After hearing this, Rabin came down and opened the bag. It was the whiskey he brought. Without it, he could not hold on. The bottle broke, and he started going crazy. The child is scared to see all this. After relaxing a bit, he started talking to her. My ex-wife used to say that I was stubborn. He tried to cool her down by saying, I think that's about right now. These are pits that were made to catch animals in the past. There are many like this here. But now we don't use any of this, he said. She was not saying a word, except that she was listening to all this. Rabin asked her, what's that, won't you talk? She gestured with her face that she could not speak. Then she showed her name written on the floor. Oh, isn't the name Molly? Do you know who the killer is? Asked Rabin. No was her reply. Rabin said to her, go to bed, you have a long walk tomorrow. In the next scene, Alice goes straight to Moonblood's house. There was no one at home. She slowly made her way down the steps to the basement. All the weapons and arrows used in Atlantis could be seen there. That's when she heard the sound of someone coming down from above. She immediately hid on the other side. As the man approached, she pulled out a gun and pointed it at him. It was Black. Did you break down the door and get in, that too, without a warrant? Don't you know that this is a place where you have no power? Black asked her. She said, Moonblood has all of Atlanta in his hands. Black asked her, do you know what your brother has in Atlantis? She was shocked to hear this. Black then shows her a photo of Molly. This child is missing. Her mother has filed a complaint saying that Brooke tried to trap her in the factory. Black told her that he had a fight with Moonblood that day. She couldn't believe this. She tells Black that my brother has no business hitting with anyone like that and takes the car from there. She went straight to Brooke's house, but he was not seen. Moreover, there was a news clipping lying on the table that said the police were looking for him. The next scene shows Rabin and Molly. Rabin is tired of walking with Molly on his shoulders. Then they rested in one place. It's still a short distance away. Rabin said with a shout that he would arrive now. Then he started talking to Molly about his daughter. He took a photo of Gwen and showed it to her, saying, she disappeared right before my eyes. Molly is shocked to see the photo. Do you know her? Rabin asked. She replied, no. It was clear from her face that she was lying. In the next scene, Alice is driving a car and receives a command on her walkie-talkie. 2 people have filed a complaint on behalf of Rabin saying their guns were stolen. Go to his house and look for them, was the instruction. Immediately, she turns the car around and goes straight to Rabin's house. Later, Rabin and Molly are shown entering the house. All the way up, he heard his dog barking incessantly. When he went to see why he was barking like that, someone attacked him from behind. That was the killer. He started to attack Rabin's head and neck. Rabin defends him as best he can. But the killer knocked him down. That's when Molly took out a gun from the other side and started shooting the killer. But none of the bullets touched the killer's body. After the bullet inside the gun was over, the killer took a large spear from nearby and plunged it into Molly's stomach. That's when Alice came there. She called Rabin from outside the house, but she found the door open and went inside. When she went inside, she saw Molly lying there with stab wounds. Just then, Rabin came to her with a gun, and she thought it was the killer. Alice thinks that Rabin did all this. She points a gun at him. "Put the gun down," she said to Rabin. "Hey. Not me. The killer is right here." Rabin called out and said, "Look behind you." The killer was standing behind her. She pointed the gun at the killer. The killer stands in surrender. Suddenly, the killer started making some gestures and noises by flapping his hand. Alice, somewhere standing in shock, as she heard that and got hold of the realization that it was Brooke, she turned around and shot Rabin. She said to Brooke, "Run away." He ran away from there. At the same time, Rabin, who had been shot, crawled away and went somewhere. Alice went out to look for him. When she went to the storeroom to look for him, she lost sight of him in the darkness and her foot got caught in a trap. She began to scream. At the same time, Rabin got into her car and called the emergency line from it and asked for an ambulance to come to his house. A child is seriously lying down. He hung up the call, saying that an ambulance should be sent immediately, and left from there. He went straight to his ex-wife and Black. When they asked what happened, "Alice shot me to save her brother. Brooks did it all," he told them. When Black says, "But we can go to the hospital immediately," he says, "Don't go to the hospital at all. Everybody will be looking for me now." He says the hospital is not safe. Later, Alice is shown being rescued from Rabin's house. Rabin should be arrested as soon as possible. She instructs the officers who are with her. Molly is also lying in the ambulance that she got into with the oxygen mask on. Rabin said to his ex-wife that he was sorry for all he did to her. "Black, you are a good man too." "I didn't understand you either," Rabin told Black. "Don't you think going to die is making you moan like this? You don't have to die. You will get all your wounds stitched up," was Black's reply. They took him to a caravan. It contained everything necessary for an emergency operation. After placing Rabin inside, Black called the doctor over. The doctor got into the van and started examining Rabin. The doctor says that he needs to be taken to the hospital immediately. The doctor said that there is no point in treating him inside this van. The doctor also agrees when Black says that everything that is needed is here and it is not possible to take him to the hospital. Black then introduced a doctor to Rabin. "Well, I have seen him. He came for dead body identification at the morgue," said the doctor. Black and his wife got out of the caravan when the doctor told them, "I need some space." When they got out, Black saw someone. Brooks was walking in front of him. Black immediately handed the car keys to his wife. Black told his wife to get in the car, "I'll come now," and ran after Brooks from there. Meanwhile, he informed the police force. Black drove Brooks straight into the face of the police force. The police are in front of Brooks, and Black is behind him. Brooke thought that the only way to escape from the cops was by rushing into the nearest caravan. Immediately, he went inside and took a knife and put it on the doctor's neck. Black and the policeman who came behind are standing there, unable to do anything. That's when Rabin, who was lying behind him, grabbed Brooks' arm and put the knife down. Immediately, Brooks is arrested and taken away. In the next scene, Alice comes straight to Black after hearing of Brooks' arrest. "Where is my brother? I want to see him," she told Black. "Didn't you shoot Rabin to save your brother? Brooks is with us now." Black said that he is being interrogated. When Alice heard this, she got angry. "This is my case. I know exactly what to do. Don't interfere," she told him. But there was no sign of Black letting her in. In the next scene, Black and the rest of the cops are going with Brooks to collect evidence or something. Alice is also there. As they approach the factory, Brooks tells Black that he's in there. The policemen are then shown entering the factory. A man is being held tight inside with bruises all over the body. The police caught him and put him in the car. "Who is it?" Alice asked Black. "That's Moonblood. Who was tied in here after the fight that took place between them that day." There are witnesses who saw him here yesterday when you were at Raven's house. Black told her that it was the real suspect who you rescued yesterday. She was surprised to hear this. Then she went straight to Brooke, who was sitting in the car. Sorry, Alice, I could not control my anger. But I don't know the truth about those children, he told her. The next scene shows Raven sitting relaxed after the operation. Thank you, doctor. For saving my life, he told the doctor. If so, I should say thank you. Didn't he save my life from Brooks, was the doctor's reply. What happened? Did you catch him? He asked. Black said that he is not the accused. His ex-wife told him that he was somewhere else at that time. Then Raven is shown going home again. The house looked like a mess. He slowly started cleaning everything there. In the next scene, Alice, who was driving in the car, gets a message. It was Black wants to see you. She is shown going straight to Black. I heard that Raven changed his word. Now he says the killer shot him. Black told her. He must have been wrong, was Alice's reply. Then they both went straight to Blood Moon. Black asks him to tell the truth. Aren't you the one who sold Atlanta to the killer? What's this? Am I the only one in America selling Atlanta? Was his reply. Look here. I know my brother treated you badly. He will be punished for that. But if you don't say anything now, a child-killing psycho will get away with it. Now tell me, said Alice to him. I don't remember anyone's name. Their faces are sometimes remembered. If you have a photo, give it to me. It would be easy for me to identify the killer, said Blood Moon. Immediately, Alice shows him the piece of the arrow in her hand. After examining it for a while, he replies, it's not mine, because I don't mark names like this. They realized that there was no way they could reach the killer through the Blood Moon anymore. Then Raven is shown. He is shown emptying all the alcohol from his house. He is on a plan to stop drinking. Meanwhile, he came across an old whiskey bottle. Seeing that, some things started to come to his mind. An old scene where Raven is traveling in a car with his daughter is shown later. Raven stopped the car when he got in front of a shop. The daughter says, I'm going to get out of the car and go for a walk. She is found somewhat disinterested in her father's drinking. He paid no heed to this and went into the shop and came out with a whiskey. His daughter was found missing at the time. He looks all the way down the streets, but Gwen, who was missing back then, has not been recovered yet. In the next scene, Alice is heading straight to the hospital where Molly is being admitted. Alice went and sat down next to her bed and said, I will save you. Meanwhile, she notices something on Molly's neck, the same marks as seen on the dead body's neck. Then Raven is shown. He's walking up to his bar, where he usually hangs. Seeing him, the waiter at the bar took the glass and started pouring alcohol into it. Hey, no. I have come to pay the debts that I incurred earlier, was his reply. When he finally got out, he saw a black truck. The same truck that was parked in the middle of the forest that day. He quickly took his car and started following it. When the truck stopped, he quickly got out and looked for the sign he had put on the truck that day. There was no sign to be seen on the truck. That's when the driver of the truck came there. What's up? He asked when he saw Raven beside his truck. He said nothing, nice truck. And went back. After that, Raven looks at the same black trucks on the road again. That's when he saw another black truck driving by. Wasting no time, he grabbed its back as well. The truck turned on an inner road and stopped at one place. When he got out of the car and looked, the truck had the same sign that he had put on it that day. But what came out of the carriage was an old man who could not even walk properly. Raven asked the old man, hey, is your son here? Can you call him? I have no son. I am alone, was his reply. One day, someone helped me start my car when it was turned off. I am sure that he was driving this truck, said Raven. Oh, so that would be my neighbor. He sometimes drives my truck. He will stay there. He pointed to a house. Then Raven walked towards the house. Seeing no one there, he opened the door and entered the house. He carried a large screwdriver for self-defense. After going down to the basement of the house, what he saw was astonishing. There were lots of weapons and photos of missing children. There was also a photo of Gwen in it. When he looked at the light, he saw something covered in blanket. When he removed the blanket, he saw a little girl. Her throat is torn and held with some other device to prevent her from making a sound. He also remembered that Molly and the dead body had similar marks on their necks. So, when Raven was standing next to the child, he received a strong kick in the head from behind. In the falling fall, he saw the man who had caused it all. The same doctor that he saw at the morgue that day and who operated on Raven. He is the real killer. Meanwhile, Alice is searching the doctor's room with the help of a sister to look for Molly's autopsy report. Meanwhile, she saw a photo of the doctor and his daughter. Alice asked the sister if the doctor had a daughter. "Yes, she died in an accident," replied the sister. Meanwhile, Alice noticed something else. The daughter's necklace in the photo had the doctor's and daughter's initials as MB written on it. The same thing is written on the arrow. Realizing the situation, Alice immediately arrives at the doctor's house with force. But by that time, he had left the place. When he reached the place, the doctor pulled Rabin out of the back of the car and said, "Run." Immediately, he got up and ran into the forest in front of him. The killer puts on his regular costume and starts running after him. At the same time, Alice goes to Rabin's house to tell him that she found Gwen's photo at his house. She went inside and saw the dog barking incessantly at the CCTV. She saw Rabin running and the doctor chasing after him. Immediately, she also goes inside the forest. Rabin is trying to sneak away from the doctor somehow in the forest. That's when Alice also came there. At the same time, Rabin lights a light and throws it to the other side, distracting the killer and knocking him down from behind. Rabin grabbed the neck of the doctor, who was paralyzed by the beating, and asked him, "Why did you do all this? My daughter was good. But your daughter was the daughter of a drunkard. When she grows up, she will be a waste like you." The doctor's reply was that, "I have killed only the children of the fathers who are like you." He immediately grabbed the doctor and dragged him away. His intention was to kill the animals by pushing them into the traps he had built in the past. That's when Alice pointed the gun from behind. "No, Rabin, listen," Alice called to him from behind. "You can either go back or shoot me again. In any case, I will not leave him alone," was Rabin's reply. "I had stopped killing animals." Rabin pushed the doctor into the trap by saying, "I changed that decision for you." The doctor is left bleeding to death by impaling the large logs in the trap. Rabin closed the door of the trap and left the doctor there, saying, "Lay there and die in hell." The next scene shows Rabin taking back all of his daughter's missing posters. He is sure that she is dead, so he also performs her funeral later. Alice has not disclosed any incidents. That's why the police are still looking for the psycho killer doctor. Later, Rabin is shown sitting on the bank of a river. In his hand, he has the last bottle of alcohol that his daughter was missing that day. The film ends with a wide shot of him looking across the river, holding it in his hand. Here, we also understands the relation between the movie and its name, The Silencing, where the doctor does the slitting of the throat of his victims to make them silent forever. The main positive of the movie is the making, which is not boring even for a moment. Throughout the film, Nicholas, who ruled as Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones, gives another fantastic performance. The Silencing is truly a movie that thriller lovers should never miss. If you like our content, don't forget to subscribe. See you soon with another video. Until then, bye.